You're about to see how some boat designers completely lost their minds. This isn't just floating hot dogs and floating hot tubs. Some of these you might have owned. Today we're diving into the 15 stupidest boats ever built. These aren't just weird, they're monuments to questionable judgment that somehow made it from napkin sketches to actual water. Let's begin. First up, a quirky hot dog-shaped boat spotted cruising Lake Erie. Represents one of boating's most eye-catching oddities. Originally built in 1975, this floating frankfurter's name, cleverly the Esmond Fitzgerald, references the famous Great Lakes freighter SS Emerald Fitzgerald that sank that same year, recently rebuilt by an Ohio enthusiast. This wiener on water maintains surprising functionality despite its unconventional design. Unlike traditional vessels with streamlined hulls, the hot dog shape creates unique handling characteristics that require skilled navigation, especially in crosswinds, while practical for attention-grabbing cruises and photo opportunities. The boat's elongated cylindrical shape and high sides make it susceptible to wind forces that conventional boats don't experience. Its unusual proportions also limit interior space efficiency compared to traditional hull designs. Nevertheless, the Edmund Fitzgerald has become a beloved local attraction on Lake Erie, proving that sometimes the most ridiculous-looking vessels create the most memorable maritime experiences, even if they make marine engineers cringe. Ever dreamed of sailing the high seas in a giant wooden guitar? Australian singer-songwriter Josh Pike actually made it happen. This jaw-dropping vessel, an exact floating replica of Pike's beloved Matin acoustic guitar, first stunned onlookers when it appeared in Sydney Harbour during his Make You Happy music video in 2009. The attention to detail is mind-blowing. The sound hole serves as the cockpit where the captain sits, while the entire body maintains perfect guitar proportions. Powered by a modest outboard motor, this musical masterpiece actually navigates surprisingly well in calm waters. Of course, physics don't care about artistic vision. The guitar boat's wide body and narrow neck create some hilariously challenging handling issues. And don't even think about taking this flat-bottomed beauty out when the waves kick up. After making its splash in the music world, Pike auctioned off his floating instrument for charity, benefiting the Indigenous Literacy Project. Talk about a performance vessel that truly struck a chord with fans and boating enthusiasts alike. The footprint boat represents one of boating's most practical oddities. This expandable pontoon-style vessel features an ingenious design that transforms from an 8'2" trailerable width to an 11.9 floating living space using slide-out sections. Brilliant engineering, wrapped in questionable aesthetics. The aluminium-framed tent fabric construction keeps weight remarkably low while providing surprising durability. Its convertible interior cleverly maximizes space with fold-out beds and adjustable living areas, making it essentially a floating RV that can navigate shallow waters with minimal power. However, there's no escaping the fact that this boat looks absolutely ridiculous, like someone mounted a camping tent on pontoons and called it innovation. The boxy, asymmetrical profile resembles a collapsed garden shed more than a proper vessel, and the fabric sides flap awkwardly even in light winds. Despite its ungainly appearance, the footprint boat delivers undeniable functionality for families seeking affordable water adventures, proving sometimes the stupidest-looking designs are surprisingly smart. The Delta Van Cruiser represents one of boating's most practical oddities from the 1970s and 1980s. This rare fiberglass vessel wasn't a van mounted on pontoons. It was a purpose-built boat designed to look exactly like a Dodge conversion van on water, complete with curved windshield, shag carpeting, and captain's chairs. Available in lengths from 21 to 28 feet, these boats offered impressive functionality with amenities like refrigerators, stoves, and even sunroofs. Their clever design provided comfortable overnight accommodations, while maintaining full boating capabilities for water skiing, fishing, and cruising. However, there's no escaping the sheer absurdity of seeing what appears to be a 1970s van gliding across open water. With its boxy profile, dated styling, and incongruous automotive features, the Delta Van Cruiser looks like something from a cartoon rather than a serious watercraft. Despite its bizarre appearance, with only about 37 ever produced, these floating vans remain coveted collector's items, proving sometimes the strangest designs become the most treasured. Imagine cruising down Tokyo's Sumida River and witnessing what looks like a giant zipper literally unzipping the water. That's exactly the mind-bending visual Japanese artist Yasuhiro Suzuki created with his zip fastener ship, a 9-meter vessel that's equal parts boat and optical illusion. This floating work of art features a zipper pull as the cabin, while its wake creates the perfect illusion of opening up the river itself as it moves. The concept is brilliantly simple yet utterly captivating, transforming an everyday object into something that makes thousands of spectators do a double take. While visually stunning enough to be featured in art installations worldwide, the zipper boat sacrifices practical considerations for artistic impact. The narrow, asymmetrical hull makes it notoriously unstable in anything beyond perfect conditions, while the zipper teeth design creates unnecessary drag that would make any marine engineer cringe. Nevertheless, Suzuki's creation proves that sometimes the most impractical vessels create the most unforgettable experiences. After all, how many boats can literally unzip a river before your eyes? Before we dive into more ridiculous vessels, smash that like button if you'd rather swim than captain any of these floating disasters. Ever wondered what happens when someone tries to shrink a pontoon boat down to the size of a golf cart? Meet the Tiger Shark Mini Pontoon, a 12-foot floating patio that proves sometimes less is definitely less. Despite its diminutive size, these compact vessels pack surprising functionality with their 22-inch diameter pontoons supporting up to 1,000 pounds and seating for 4 to 6 people, though you'll be cozier than sardines in a can. Powered by a modest 55-pound thrust Minn Kota electric motor, these mini marvels cruise at a blistering pace that could be outrun by an enthusiastic swimmer. What makes these boats simultaneously brilliant and ridiculous is their complete commitment to full-sized pontoon features. Bimini tops, swivel seats, and storage compartments, all crammed onto a platform barely larger than a king-sized bed. Perfect for small lakes and calm waters, the Tiger Shark becomes a nautical joke in anything beyond a gentle breeze, where passengers quickly discover that miniaturizing a boat doesn't miniaturize the waves it encounters. Ever seen a boat that looks like someone took 2 hulls, placed them side by side, and called it innovation? Meet the Jewel Cathedral design, the nautical equivalent of wearing 2 left shoes and expecting to run faster. Pioneered by companies like Woodson in the 1980s, these bizarre 18-foot vessels feature 2 parallel cathedral hulls with a gap between them, essentially creating a boat with a massive channel down the middle. The theory was brilliant. Water would flow through this channel, reducing drag while maintaining stability for a faster, more efficient ride. Reality, however, had other plans. At certain speeds, these dual hulls created a dangerous resonance effect, causing violent oscillations that could send your lunch and passengers overboard. The center gap, meant to channel water smoothly, instead created a spectacular upward spray, giving everyone an unwanted shower even on calm days. Despite these obvious flaws, die-hard fans still defend the design's superior rough water handling, proving that in boating, as in love, beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. Imagine if a motorcycle and a catamaran had a baby that inherited all the awkwardness of puberty. That's essentially what you get with a Zigo boat. These bizarre New Zealand-born hybrids feature a central seating position where you straddle the craft like a motorcycle, with 2 narrow pontoons extending outward like training wheels for the nautically challenged. Powered by outboards up to 40 horsepower, The Zigo 300 model promises speeds of 28 miles per hour. Impressive until you experience the unique thrill of straddling what feels like a water-going bicycle for longer trips. Your posterior will be sending strongly worded complaints within the hour. While marketed as the ultimate personal watercraft alternative, Zigo's managed to combine the disadvantages of both jet skis and boats. Too big to be nimble, too small to be comfortable, and with a profile so strange that other boaters will either point, laugh, or radio the Coast Guard about an unidentified floating object. Nevertheless, these quirky vessels have developed a cult following among enthusiasts who appreciate their uniqueness, proving that even the strangest boats find their captains. Imagine telling your friends you live in a giant wooden egg that floats. That's exactly what British artist Stephen Turner did for an entire year. The Exbury egg isn't just a boat, it's a floating art installation / tiny home that takes living off the grid to spectacularly weird new levels. This perfectly egg-shaped vessel, measuring 20 feet long and 9 feet wide, was meticulously crafted from wooden strips and designed as a self-sustaining workspace for Turner to study the changing tides of the Beaulieu River in Hampshire, England. While brilliantly constructed as an artistic statement about nature and sustainability, the egg suffers from the fundamental problem that eggs weren't designed for water navigation. With no defined bow or stern, the vessel has zero directional stability and essentially becomes a very sophisticated driftwood when faced with currents or wind. Turner called his floating egg home a capsule of all life on Earth, though marine engineers might call it a testament to prioritizing concept over function. Ever wondered what happens when you take Howard Hughes' personal Boeing 307 Stratoliner and transform it into a boat? Meet the Cosmic Muffin, possibly the only vessel in history that started its life cruising at 30,000 feet before ending up cruising at 3 knots. This bizarre plane-boat hybrid began as Hughes' personal aircraft in the 1930s, before eventually being discovered abandoned in Florida by Fort Lauderdale boat enthusiast Dave Drimmer in 1969. Seeing potential where others saw scrap, Drimmer made the questionable decision to convert the fuselage into a houseboat, powered by twin 225-horsepower Chrysler inboard engines. The result is exactly as strange as you'd expect, an airplane fuselage sitting atop a custom hull, with the original cockpit window serving as the boat's windshield. Inside, the cylindrical cabin maintains its aviation feel, complete with curved walls that make furniture placement a nightmare. This floating piece of aviation history proves that sometimes the stupidest ideas are also the most magnificent. After all, how many boats can claim they once flew Howard Hughes across the country? Ever dreamed of combining the world's slowest form of transportation with the world's wettest form of relaxation? Meet the hot tug, a floating hot tub that functions as a boat, proving that some ideas are so ridiculous they circle back to brilliant. This Dutch-designed vessel allows up to 7 people to cruise urban waterways at a leisurely 3.7 miles per hour, while sitting in steaming 100-degree Fahrenheit water. Powered by an electric outboard motor and featuring a wood-fired heater, the hot tug creates what might be the world's most relaxing traffic jam. The London-based schooner boats offer these bizarre vessels for rental adventures, allowing passengers to navigate city canals while essentially taking a public bath. The captain steers via a small joystick while partially submerged, creating what must be the world's most puny skippers. The problems are hilariously obvious, and the combination of drinking, hot water, and boating creates a perfect environment for dehydration, impaired judgment, crashes, and drowning, but probably a lot of stupid fun. Nevertheless, these floating hot tubs have become wildly popular rental attractions, proving people will pay good money for bad ideas if they're Instagram-worthy enough. Ever dreamed of cruising Venice's historic canals in a Ferrari? Italian craftsman Livio De Marchi did exactly that, except his Ferrari F50 is made entirely of wood and floats. This might be the only Ferrari that performs better in water than on land. Carved with obsessive attention to detail, this floating masterpiece replicates every curve, vent, and emblem of the iconic supercar. Demarchi, known as the Carpenter of Venice, spent countless hours crafting this buoyant beauty from pine wood, then sealed it to withstand constant water exposure. Powered by a small outboard motor hidden beneath its wooden chassis, this floating Ferrari cruises the Venetian canals at a pace that would make actual Ferrari owners weep, roughly the speed of an enthusiastic paddleboarder. While brilliantly executed as an art piece, the wooden Ferrari suffers from obvious practical limitations. Its low profile means passengers get splashed constantly. The wooden seats become uncomfortably slippery when wet, and parking this masterpiece requires more skill than parallel parking on a San Francisco hill. Nevertheless, this floating Ferrari proves that sometimes the stupidest boat ideas are also the most magnificent. Imagine telling your date, "My car doesn't just drive to the lake, it drives in the lake." That's exactly what amphicar owners have been doing since the 1960s, terrifying passengers and confusing fish with the world's most committed automotive identity crisis. This German-engineered oddity looks like someone grafted boat propellers onto a Triumph Herald after one too many schnapps. Powered by a rear-mounted Triumph 1147cc engine producing a wheezing 43 horsepower, the amphicar struggles equally on both land and water. It's the true Renaissance man of mediocrity. On roads, it handles like a boat. Poorly. In water, it moves like a car that's sinking. Slowly. Owners lovingly joke that there are two times when the amphicar leaks, when it's in the water and when it's not. Despite selling around 4,000 units, the amphicar's greatest claim to fame might be as President Lyndon B. Johnson's favorite prank device. He'd drive unsuspecting guests toward his Texas ranch lake, screaming that the brakes had failed, proving that even presidential humor can be delightfully juvenile. Want to see more engineering catastrophes that somehow made it to market? Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. Next week, we're tackling more of the world's worst. Ever wanted to cruise around in what looks like a floating space pod from a 1960s sci-fi movie? The jet capsule is what happens when Italian designers decide boats are too boat-shaped and need to be more egg-like. This glossy white mini yacht, measuring just 25 feet, looks like something James Bond would use to escape a villain's lair. Created by Italian designer Pierpaolo Lazzarini, the jet capsule packs luxury amenities into a futuristic package that resembles a giant Apple mouse with windows. Powered by either 350 HP or 740 HP engines. These pods can reach impressive speeds of up to 38 knots, assuming you can see where you're going through the quirky circular windows that distort vision like a fishbowl. The curved interior walls severely limit usable space, making the cabin feel like you're living inside a giant golf ball. Despite these practical challenges, the jet capsule has found a market among wealthy eccentrics and charter companies looking for Instagram-worthy vessels. After all, why blend in with normal boats when you can float around in what looks like a partially submerged stormtrooper helmet? Ever wanted to pilot a mechanical shark that jumps 18 feet out of the water? Meet the Seabreacher. Part boat, part submarine, part midlife crisis on steroids. Created by New Zealander Robbins, these semi-submersible watercraft are designed to lurk and move like sharks, dolphins, or killer whales, depending on which marine animal you'd prefer to terrify beachgoers with. Powered by a 260 horsepower supercharged Rotax engine, these 17-foot vessels can reach 60 miles per hour on the surface, dive 5 feet underwater, and perform barrel rolls that would make fighter pilots jealous. The fighter jet-style cockpit features a clear acrylic canopy, allowing the pilot to see underwater during brief dives while controlling the craft with aircraft-like controls. The articulated tail provides thrust and directional control, creating a ride that's equal parts exhilarating and nauseating, while undeniably impressive as an engineering feat. At $85,000 plus, these aquatic transformers represent peak impracticality. The complex controls require extensive training, and the aggressive maneuvering creates G-forces that will rearrange your internal organs. Nevertheless, we can't help but admire any vessel that lets you live out your James Bond villain fantasies. From floating hot dogs to mechanical sharks, these 15 vessels prove that not every boat idea deserves to leave the harbor. If you enjoyed this nautical journey through bad decisions, hit subscribe for more maritime madness. Drop a comment telling us which of these floating disasters you'd actually risk riding in. Until next time, stay high and dry.